Hey, how's it going, guys? It's me, Michael, and I'm gonna go through this drawing with you and talk about my inspiration for it, how I did it, and some symbolism and some other stuff along the way. So let's jump right in. This digital painting, which I did in Photoshop with my new Huion tablet, is called Welcome to the Garden, Yogi Bon. And that may be pretty weird and mysterious to you. It is essentially a digital painting about my dog, Yogi, who's pictured right there with an onion on his head. My dog passed away last September of 2019. He was 13 years old. He lived a good life. 13's pretty average for a coon hound. I was super bummed out, obviously. I mean, I had him for about 10 years. I brought him from Pittsburgh to Washington State, and we ended up, we live on a horse ranch, and he has a big yard, and he, ran around a lot and everything. He didn't get sick or anything. He actually tore his Achilles tendon, and he never really recovered from it, which is just a bummer because he otherwise was like super healthy. Anyway, so I wanted to do an image, a piece for him that sort of remembers him and sort of looks forward if there is any sort of afterlife. I imagine him there in a huge garden where he's able to just like make a little nest and be happy, and there's plenty of, rabbits to chase and kibble to eat. So I had actually been sitting on this drawing for quite a while. I originally did it, I think, in November of 2019, and it is August of 2020 right now. And I did a lot of other stuff in between, but I also kind of dragged my feet in doing this one. Not for any particular reason, I just got really burnt out, and honestly, I got pretty depressed about, losing Yogi, and I visited my friends back in Pittsburgh, and coming back to Washington, I missed everybody a lot. As much as I love my friends here, seeing all my homies back in Pittsburgh, really, it was great while I was there, but it bummed me out once I got back. So I started this, and it just sat for however many months from November to August. And I originally drew this guy's face right here, who's like this sort of amalgamation of floating bones and whatever else. His face was totally different, and I'll post too, and I think I posted before what it looked like originally. He had like these big eyes and like a beard. Shaved him, gave him just a mustache. He still has big eyes, but little eyes inside. So sort of my thought process behind this was, Yogi is, he's gone from our world here, but he's been welcomed into this garden by this being who I've speculated to be part me, part spirit guide, where he has somebody that's sort of familiar to him to hang out with and to, more or less show him the ropes. So they're just hanging out in this garden. There's these hummingbirds here, there's these beautiful flowers, all these vines and everything. And while he seems pensive, that's kind of what Yogi was like. He was, he loved to have fun and everything, but he was a somewhat nervous dog. So I tried to sort of capture that in his expression, his like unwillingness to just lay down. He was kind of like a stander, where he would just stand and stare at you. It was always kind of weird. Anyway, you may remember back, I think it was one or two illustrations ago, I did a heron, and it was like wrapped in bramble, like wrapped in vines. And for that piece, I sort of speculated, well, I didn't speculate, I knew that the bramble for me was like symbolic of anxiety, and how this heron sort of flies with this anxiety. It tries to shake it loose, but it's, you know, it's really wrapped around it. But all the rays of light were sort of, you know, positive sources within, you know, my life that are breaking apart the bramble. In this one, it looks pretty much the same, and it's even black. It's the same thing, but I didn't come at it from that angle as a place of anxiety. But maybe, you know, maybe it is. I know whenever Yog was like on his way out, like it was extremely anxiety ridden for me, and it was terrible. So maybe that is like a vestige of how I was feeling at the time. It found its way into the garden. But like I said, there is this spirit guide there for him, or whatever guide. He looks with the horns, sort of like devilish. And there are these huge flowers, and, you know, these brighter vines with fruit on them. The flowers themselves, I wrote this in an earlier post, but it dawned on me that the 4 flowers pictured are 4 chronological stages of a blooming flower. And you could see from left to right, it goes from completely closed to totally open. And I was thinking that this is sort of a nod to just life, and how we can look back at the different stages in our lives and the lives of, you know, those that are gone now, and remember each stage rather than just the end stage of, you know, a dying, wilting flower. At first, whenever Yog died, it was pretty hard for me to shake that last day of taking him to the vet, and, you know, until I realized that I have all of these great memories, you know, that we shared together that I can look back on, you know, from whenever I first got him to all the way till we moved here, and he had like this great big yard. There's so many different times that we shared. Funny memories of him, you know, eating like half a huge bag of cat food, and us finding him, to him like making little nests in the yard out of like mowed grass and stuff. So I choose to sort of focus on those stages rather than the last days, and I think that's probably pretty normal for people, you know, who've passed. We tend to focus on those good memories, and I have lost people in my life, and it was very hard to not focus on, you know, the last days, or even worse, like things that maybe I've said to them that were, you know, less than desirable. But I think that in the end, focusing on the good times that we shared, and especially with Yog, like I feel like I gave him a good life, and that's all there really is to focus on, is the fact that he had a good life, you know. He had a good home, and we spoiled him, and he was a good dog. I guess we could talk about the drawing itself right now. So basically, I've done a lot. We're almost toward the end here. I'm just going through with a grain shader and doing a lot of shading. I do a lot of, you could see like hue and saturation shifts. I try to edit a lot of them out because I just experiment with colors as I go. And if for any reason you guys want to see the unedited versions of these videos, let me know. This video is 12 minutes long, something like that, and the unedited is about 18. What's funny is if it's not sped up, it's about 6.5 hours long. And I don't actually remember to record all the time, so this probably took me about 8 hours to do over the course of maybe 2 days, not including the initial sketching. So just like the digital line work and coloring was about 7 or 8 hours. One thing is these flowers that are pictured here are taken from a book, a reference book that I got from the library before the pandemic hit, and they're sort of an amalgamation of a couple different types of lilies. I don't know exactly like the ones with like the red edge along the edge there are a specific type of lily, and I grew up and we had like tiger lilies in our yard, like the bright orange ones you see everywhere. But yeah, I was just really drawn to these lilies, and then sort of just tried drawing them at different stages, not really knowing that I was gonna think of that like symbolism later of the stages of life. Sometimes things just fall together and happen like that. That's art, baby. The hummingbirds, we have hummingbirds all around our house, and we have this tree with red leaves, and they love it, and we see them outside our window all the time. But I think that's about it. Yogi has an onion on his head. My girlfriend Masha does a comic or a drawing about Wee Woo the Onion Boy. So that's what that's about. Thanks, guys. Comment below. Let me know if you like it, if you hate it, whatever. It's up to you.